Hello, I'm Ian Scales, you're watching TelecomTV, and I'm joined today by Emeka Nwafor, who is Wind River Senior Director, Product Management and Ecosystems, IoT Cloud Solutions at Wind River. Emeka, welcome.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks for talking to us at TelecomTV. So, first of all, tell us where Wind River is in terms of its ambitions for IoT.
So, a little bit of background about the company. So, Wind River has been in business for 35 years, and we exist to develop software, tools, and services to help customers who are building, quite frankly, types of applications that can't fail, right? So we typically have done very well in aerospace and defense, networking, automotive, and our focus right now from an IoT perspective is really around industrial. What's interesting for the company is we've spent a big part of our 35-year history helping customers, lock systems down, right? So a lot of the industrial equipment that we power wasn't designed to be connected to the internet. And a lot of those same customers are seeing the opportunity of IoT or smart connected products and approaching us and asking us how we could help them securely connect these devices to the cloud so they could get meaningful insights and drive either a business optimization or a business transformation.
So in your experience then, what are the key issues facing IoT practitioners at the moment, or companies that want to get into IoT in the manner that you suggested? So
right now the IoT landscape or ecosystem, it's quite complex, right? And I think a lot of analysts have characterized it, quite frankly, as being a very ingredients-driven market, right, with respect to all the different pieces that can be combined, or even, quite frankly, even the choice of platforms. So I think one of the big challenges that I think the market in general is dealing with is sort of finding that hybrid between, do I want to piece together my individual components, or is there an appropriate solution that will allow me to, achieve the business outcomes that I'm looking for? So I think that's the number one challenge. The second challenge is, quite frankly, I think what is the weak link with respect to IoT solutions today, and that's security. So Ian, because of the markets that we go after, a lot of our customers are using our solutions and applications that are part of what we describe as critical infrastructure, right? So things like utilities or use cases in utilities, use cases in transportation, manufacturing is another big area. Smart cities, right, where you have people and potentially public safety concerns as well. And when you start factoring in the complexity of the stack, ranging from these sensors and devices, the cloud technology, and then quite frankly, interacting with people and processes on the other side of the stack, there's I think a huge threat from a security perspective in that we're now exposing this infrastructure to new attack surfaces, things that we hadn't seen before. So those are the two. I think that's transitioning to more of a solutions-based industry combined with securing your infrastructure.
I mean, that security thing is a big concern at the moment, isn't it? What specific ways can you allay people's fears about that? It's partly about fear, it's partly about real action that needs to take place as well.
So definitely Wind River as a company, our focus has been on safe, secure, and reliability. So a lot of our DNA in terms of how we build our products incorporate a lot of elements of safety. From a product perspective, so we are a product company, or we have a product component to our business. We are putting capabilities into our products to allow you to basically better secure your infrastructure. If we take a look at some of the recent very popular attacks, so things like WannaCry or the Mirai botnet attack, we've actually introduced capabilities that on their own wouldn't completely eliminate that, but help to remove some of the attack surfaces, right? So for example, the ability to automatically update or patch devices with software updates, I think, is one area that we address with our portfolio. Or even secure provisioning, right, such that devices don't require a default username and password in order to get them configured. These are capabilities that Wind River and, quite frankly, our parent, Intel, have been investing in order to address some of the challenges around security.
Okay, what specific things do you think Wind River can bring to the ecosystem to make a difference?
Specific things that Wind River brings, I think our focus, unlike some of the other IoT platforms out there, our focus is really on the edge. So one of the trends that we see is that you're starting to see a lot more compute going to the edge, right? So some of the customers we've been talking to at the shows, they're talking about just the huge, vast amounts of data that's coming off of their systems or their rigs or equipment, and realizing that it's not even though you have big data capabilities in the cloud, it's not necessarily practical to process all that in the cloud due to concerns like latency, right? So what we see is that from a Wind River perspective, our portfolio allows you to take advantage of compute at the edge, to add more intelligence to the edge or more control in a safe and secure, reliable way, such that you could, quite frankly, build more resilient systems.
Now, are you thinking of the edge on the customer side or the edge on the telco side? How do you see yourself involving yourself with the telco edge?
So that is a great question, right? Because one man's edge is another man's cloud, depending on how you approach it, right? So typically, from the telco perspective, and I have a background in telco, but we have other folks in the company that spend more time in telco. But traditionally, for telco, the edge has been like the base station, right? That's considered to be the edge of the network. However, if you take a look at industrial, typically the edge in industrial is characterized as that demarcation point between when your devices actually now talk over a protocol to an external system or the cloud. We're starting to see both of those definitions blur and overlap a little bit. But from an industrial perspective, I would consider the edge to be your on-premises equipment combined with the processing that sits at the edge of the cloud to help manage and control that equipment.
Yes. So in a sense, the cloud, in a way, will define where those workloads take place, won't it? So as we develop these systems further.
Absolutely, and I think we're going to see that the definition of the cloud is going to change as well, right? With the emergence of things like fog or mist computing, or think of it like compute that's moving closer and closer to the ground. Yes, if we consider all of that to be part of the cloud, then yes, I agree that will change the way we look at things.
So Emeka, in your experience, what are the key issues facing IoT customers?
I think one of the key issues facing customers is getting clarity as to what their desired business outcome is and how they want to address it. So I'll give you a few examples. So one of our customers, Bosch, and they've implemented this air quality monitoring system. And actually, one of the things that I think has made that project successful is that they had a real clear view as to what problem they were trying to solve, who's going to benefit from it, and how they were going to apply the technology to address it. In the case of Bosch, the problem that they were trying to solve is this, we call it the hyper-densification of cities, right? Where, in cities of 10 million people or more, we're projecting like 60% growth in that population by 2030. With that growth comes increased traffic, pollution, waste management concerns. And I think one of the things that struck me as I was digging into their scenario was the impact to human life, right? In that the World Health Organization has estimated, I think in 2012 alone, I think 7 million deaths were attributed to things like air quality. So the idea here is that by understanding the problem that they wanted to solve, figuring out how they were going to leverage sensor technology, compute from Intel in the gateway, and our software to manage that, they're now able to very easily, securely deploy a distributed air quality management system that, again, unlike systems that are out there today, is operated at a much lower cost, takes a lot less real estate, and has flexibility in terms of giving precise guidance to people in different neighborhoods or parts of the city with respect to air quality, so that you could do things like decide when you want to go for a run or a walk, right? Just based on the air quality indicators. So I think so back to your question, I think it's being clear as to what your desired business outcome is, and the metrics that you're going to use to measure success.
Okay, that's great. If you had recommendations for the attendees here, in terms of what to watch out for and what to take advantage of in the IoT field, what would they be?
So based on my experience over the last few years, my recommendations would fall into 3 areas. I think first and foremost, have a definitive plan for security, right? And Wind River could do things to help security, but security is everybody's problem, right? And when I say everybody, it's the people who are operating the system as well as all of the participants in the supply chain. The second piece of advice I'd give them with this Internet of Things is, quite frankly, be prepared to overcome obstacles, right? And obstacles are going to come in the form of, in many ways, organizational challenges with respect to rolling out a solution. Some of it will be conceptual, right, with respect to, quite frankly, looking at the opportunity or the problem through a different lens than the systems you're implementing today. And in the third area, we strongly encourage companies, especially in this, this ecosystem today, to really identify your distinctive competency and figure out what differentiates you in the eyes of your customers, and focus your effort and investments there. And if necessary, be prepared to outsource everything else.
Yes. Of course, that raises a whole lot of internal struggle that we probably needn't go into here. But there is an issue, isn't there, with responsibilities within organisations, because the impact of IoT is so broad on just about every company. A lot of the difficulties can come down to management responsibilities, lines of responsibility within companies, can't they?
Absolutely, and in the Internet of Things, I think the two big one that we see, or the two big organizations that we see are, this sort of either convergence, or I don't know if conflict is the right word, between the line of business or the parts of the business that typically operate the operational technology.
Yeah, convergence and autonomy, perhaps, being
that's right.
The two things.
And then with IT, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, Emeka, thank you very much for that. It's been very, very interesting. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.